and welcome to Sporting Jibberish. Couldn't have come out there. I'm Stuart Booth.
I'm Jack Luffman.
Decided to have a last-second microphone move.
Just get it right.
Keep me on my toes.
Yeah. Thursday, you're a bit lively here today.
Well, I'm going to say I'm a bit excited. I've got a great story for you shortly about some vice president and what he's managed to achieve in the world of sport.
Nice.
It is pretty amazing.
It
I'm
is
looking
good.
forward to talking to you about it.
Yeah. Any such stories in our careers?
Yeah, I have actually got a few, but we'll talk about that in more detail. But today we are going to be Premier League. We're going to a little bit about cricket. Jack's opening again the season, so interesting to find out what happened in that. So you also had got a chance to have a chat with the DSL guy. So
Chairman, president, owner. I don't know actually. I don't know what Omar is. Everything. He does everything.
Yeah. Okay, Omar, the man of many jobs. We'll have a little look at boxing. Joshua versus Usyk.
Very good.
I've actually, beforehand, we couldn't work out how to pronounce the name, so I've actually brought on my notes. Usyk.
But this is how bad we are. We actually checked it out. Eddie Hearn pronounced
Eddie
it.
Hearn had to pronounce it for us in order for us to get it correct. Looking at the talking points of the head-to-head, the build-up to fights and how they're conducted. Mentioned then that my 60-year-old vice president of Suriname and what he's been up to, and we'll finish off with a bit of fancy football. But
I'm going to shock him, mate.
Yeah, you're not good. I think you're third from bottom when I just checked.
Got broad shoulders, it's alright.
That is it. You and Henry, really strong. You obviously
It's just a sign of North London at the moment, isn't it?
yeah, not a good state. But let's start off with Sporting Week. So I'll start off with. So I decided, as I mentioned in the show last week, I thought I'll pop down, show a bit more support. Big Sporting Jibberish bandwagon with me, just me. So I got down to cricket. Jack said it was 2:30 kickoff.
2 o'clock kickoff.
Well, I think it was originally 2:30, but then the umpire
Whatever, it's 2 o'clock.
Yeah, so it ended up being 2 o'clock. I dropped the little girl off at a party, headed down there, got there about 2:15, give or take. Working out which pitch we're on, and I remembered that we have a red trim or pink trim or whatever we call it.
Still can't work out what colour it is.
More like I tell you what, it's a bit like Liverpool's trim on the Liverpool kit.
Yeah, that orangey red.
It's like a Roma colour.
Yes.
So I'm like, right, so which pitch do they have back? There's a team there, looks like they're batting. I was like, it's a right result, I can get to watch Jack bat. And as I walk round the corner, the pavilion's on the left hand side, I'm walking around, I'm trying to work out who's batting. And then out of nowhere, his voice next to me goes, alright, Stu. Turn around, Jack stood next to me. I'm like, what? He was like, yeah, it's not gone well. It's not gone well. I actually looked, you lasted 7 minutes.
7 minutes, I know.
7 minutes.
7 minutes. I was out in the 10th ball of the game. Just chased a wide one, mate.
At least you are consistent.
Bad.
Consistent.
I tell you, your time is beckoning, I think.
Yeah, so let's talk our listeners through what happened.
Well, yeah, I was
You
out.
got a few, didn't you?
10 half a dozen, 4 or 5, I don't know. Not enough. Which sort of set the tone, really. We didn't. It was great. To be fair, let's start off by saying it was brilliant, like very gushy, very proud moment. I actually think that, like in May, when the other 3 lads joined me at my house for a barbecue, we barely had a sausage to put on the barbecue, and then all of a sudden we're in the biggest amateur league in Dubai. That's probably the highlight of the day. To be fair, we
did the cap giving out
we
ceremony.
had the caps out ceremony, and it was a good day, but the result wasn't where we wanted to be. We didn't get enough runs. 126, I think we got bowled out with an over and a bit to go, which isn't good enough. Really, well, it's not good enough, but we'll get better. But we showed some fight in the field, and we bowled the field as well. Made them fight for it, really. But yeah, so not the result we wanted, but a good day, good social afterwards. Personally, absolutely pathetic. But I'm going to hope to rectify that this week. But we'll get better. We're going to be competitive. There's no doubt about that. Pretty confident of that. It's just, I think it was a little bit like the 2 friendlies weren't against the same calibre of opposition, but that's just how it is.
Under 11s and under 12 age.
Yeah, under 12 age, 13s age. But some good performances. Clint did well with the bat, and Sid did well with the ball. So.
Yeah. Clobbered one that just went past the boundary and over the hill, didn't it? Yeah. My favourite moment was when your wicketkeeper got out. He got confused with running, not running. He came down the wicket to play a shot, missed it by what can only be described as a country mile, and which then resulted in him being stumped out. And then let's just say If there was any children there, they would have learned some new language.
It was the way he was shouting at himself, nobody else.
Yeah, just trundling away to himself, but not like, oh no. It was like full on screaming, and then this continued as he walked off the pitch, passes at the pavilion, and then continued to hit things on the way into
and in the dressing room, he's got a bruised thumb.
He did crack himself. I think he was hitting everything. But I tell you, if there was ever a sign for little man syndrome, that was definitely it. It was amusing.
It was.
So I stayed for the batting, which thankfully didn't last too much longer. But it was hot. But it kind of did cool off. It was dead bizarre, wasn't it? As the day kind of went on, it started to cool ever so slightly. It wasn't too bad at all, actually. But yeah, unfortunately, as you said, not the result, but onwards and upwards.
We've got to go play Saturday morning this week against TCC, who are actually fairly decent, so we'll see what happens.
Excellent.
Very good. But I did manage to catch up with, for those people who don't know what the DSL is, I did manage to catch up with Omar, who is, I don't know what his official title, he runs it and owns it, so just a little bit of history about it, I guess.
Yes, hi Jack, thank you so much for having me, much appreciated. Yes, like you mentioned, this is by far the biggest edition of DSL we've ever had, our 9th edition, our 9th year running. We're going to have 39 teams this year with multiple divisions and multiple grounds and venues as well. I guess the biggest change this year is we've included Division 1 or A division teams in the mix as well. Of course, they play in their own division, so there's plenty of room still left for amateur cricketers, people who want to enjoy a game of cricket on the weekend. Of course, you know, Dubai is such a cosmopolitan place. You've got all the cricket-loving countries represented here nicely. So yeah, the vision of DSL and our plans of how we will proceed this year and beyond are looking great.
So
yes, absolutely.
Just on that,
you are carry on.
Just on that, with Omar, he mentioned there you've got a vast amount of teams. Where do they all play? Because the only pitch I'm aware of are the 3 upper 7s.
Yes, there's 3 at 7s. Now, in usual circumstances, there would all 3 being used, but one of the big main pitches being used by the IPL for practice. The 2 pitches at the ICC are also out of bounds because they're being used by the IPL, and obviously we assume the same thing will happen for the T20 World Cup when it starts. But there are grounds at the DP World where I've played before. There's one ground there, and then I don't know if they've bought it, but there's lots of cricket grounds in Ajman, but these have got hold of a brand new ground at Ajman. So I think between those sort of 3 or 4 ovals, that's how they do it. But of course they play back to back, and all weekend. And I think the A League that he talked about there is midweek.
Oh, okay.
So you've got basically Wednesday night, Thursday night, all day Friday, all day Saturday.
Okay, so if there's anybody out there that's wanting to get involved, get in contact with us, and Jack will put you in contact with Omar.
Yeah, or you can come and play with us. It's really good. We need a good opening bat.
Yeah, and people don't get subbed out as well, so if you're small, little, and you want to join in with a wicket keeper.
Good old Ben. Old Ben. What a character. You've got we had a bit of bad news. Your sporting week's not been good, has it?
No, there's like the weirdest thing that's ever happened. So I went to this. It's not weird that I went to the gym, but I did go to the gym. Decided to do some interval training at the end of heavyweight session. Get the reps.
So mistake number 1, you went to the gym. Mistake number 2, you did an interval session.
Yeah, I did interval session on the treadmill, and it was interval as in gradients. So at points you're just going up quite a steep bit, but then Saturday morning, a little bit sore in the old Achilles. Sunday morning, got up, couldn't even stand on it. Achilles gone completely, so it turns out I've got tendonitis. So it's a lovely little disease to have.
Disease. I must have passed it on to you.
Yeah, I caught it off Jack. We need to rub your back against something. You might get something.
Runs.
Yeah. Matty Owen's always had that problem, so you might be able to tell me how. So unfortunately, missed training on Sunday, missed training Monday, had a game last night, and then I just got in from the hospital from the appointment and just sat there with basically in Dubai, just get a keg full of drugs, don't you? And tell you, going like, here, have this, and this. So just got in, and the gaffer texted me, said, we've lost loads of players, we're down 13, how's the Achilles? And just sent a picture of all the drugs. I was like, yeah, I'm not playing. But I believe it wasn't a good result, so they played the Irish C team, and the Irish C have posted on Instagram 7-2 versus the All Stars. Something I love to see.
Oh, there we go.
So
that's stoked fire.
Well, that's a little bit naughty. So I was like, that's a little bit naughty to the gaffer, and the gaffer's like, oh yeah, I'll be keeping hold of that. When the time's right, I'll be letting that information out of the bag.
Very good.
But yeah, not a good night for All Stars with regards to that result. But I think we're a couple of weeks off the league. EFA starts this weekend. So the first game should have been for Sporting Jibberish Nation, who still haven't changed the name.
Come on, get it great, lads.
It's Saturday, but obviously with the Achilles, I'm ruling myself out now. So hopefully back training maybe Monday, Tuesday next week, and then.
Right. Tip when I had it that actually resting is the worst thing to do. You've got to load it again as they.
Yeah, I think the idea is that because I'm on my feet all the time, I don't really.
You don't rest at all.
The resting time is at home and trying to put some ice in it. But honestly, if you see me Sunday and you see me today, I'm like two different people.
Definitely.
So it's definitely on the mend. So fingers crossed, I'll be ready, fighting fit for Wednesday.
2 wins this week for us. Come on, let's see what we can do.
Yes, right. Okay, we'll move on to Premiership. So last week's games. I did actually manage to catch a few of the games. The wife's been away, so full television viewing.
When the wife's away, Stu will watch
football. Yeah, all day. Did not watch Newcastle late.
I did watch that. Actually,
I tell a lie. I did watch some of it, but I did fall asleep. I managed to get the first 20 odd minutes of it.
I did watch that.
Fair result?
Yeah, I think so. It was basically St Maxim versus Leeds, basically. That was it. But it was entered like a basketball game.
Yeah, I wonder how long before one of the clubs comes in for him, because I think he suits Liverpool's style of play.
Yeah, definitely. He's a good player. And it was end to end. I don't know, there was a hell of a lot of chance. I can't remember or shots on target. But I think Newcastle are struggling. I think both sides are struggling personally. Yeah. Leeds look really, really open at the back. Really open. Yeah, I think they might struggle. Continue to struggle, I should say.
So neither team managed to pick up a win, so no good for either of them. And then Saturday, I watched the 3 o'clock kickoffs. I actually watched the Liverpool Crystal Palace game, but I think the shock of the day came Brentford's turn over Wolves. And we talk about Leeds and Newcastle struggling to find them 3 points. Wolves are equally in the same boat, and it just seems to be that just a slight misfire in the box, because I watched part of the game. Well, to be fair, I did watch that one because it was the 12:30 kickoff, and Brentford played well, but Wolves missed chance after chance. 2-0 down at half time. Kindereg called Bueno, I think is correct pronunciation. Scored one. Would have got an assist for another one, but Tony's ruled offside for that. But then the second half was basically a Wolves onslaught. And Adam Traore put a few decent balls into the box. Jimenez headed wide when he should have scored. I think Jimenez, a season and a half ago, they've scored there and it makes a difference. But Juan, whatever his name is, Cheese Juan.
Cheese sandwich. What is it?
It's not his cheese sandwich. He's a South Korean. Yeah, he looks lively. Yeah. Absolutely annihilated the Brentford centre half. What's the big Ponchachan? He did the Ronaldo chop, but did it, megged Pontus, then got to the byline and cut it back, but they didn't score from it. But I just think that Wolves are kind of ticking over, and at some point they're going to kick in. And I don't think they could upset a big team, but I think somebody at some point is going to be the end of Adam Traore scoring a hat-trick.
But they'd be very unlucky if that happened. But they don't want to carry on too much longer, else they're in dire straits. The interesting thing about that before we move on, and I saw something on Twitter today, it's always just been Carling Cup, or whatever it's called now. I don't know what is it called? Carabao this week. And Wolves were one side and the other side as well. Wolves basically started with a reserve 11 against Spurs at home. Now, Spurs, he knows that Spurs are going to go with a fairly strong side because it's a decent opportunity for Spurs to get some silverware, as you know. I don't understand that. When you're not winning games, and we're not at the point of the season where they're absolutely in dire straits, why would you change your team?
Maybe it's to see if there's anybody in that second string that maybe could hit a bit of form and maybe change fortunes, because Wolves haven't played badly. They played well against you. They didn't play poorly against Brentford. maybe it's just a case of seeing if there's a bit more spark from somewhere, because Neves hasn't really kicked in. Coutinho's another year older.
Yeah, I was going to say, that Portuguese contingent are just that year older, and then obviously Jimenez has had that horrific injury and Avsalite.
It just makes you wonder how influential Jota was to that team. That potentially maybe helped them along a little bit.
Yeah, and you think they did lose. I mean, we thought last summer that Doherty for 12 million quid was the steal of the summer.
Yeah.
He's been so disappointing for Spurs for me, but again, it just makes you wonder sometimes with players how they just feel at home somewhere, and like I say, the fact that probably him like Jota were probably quite influential along with Cody in that whole team.
Lewandowski's just come out with that comment actually. He just does an interview saying that he would never potentially move on to the Premiership because he feels at home in Germany, he enjoys his football, doesn't need to go and prove himself anywhere else. He says that Cavani's gone over to the Premiership to try and prove himself, not really hit the ground running type of thing, and now we're suddenly saying he's not a good striker, but look at his record, he is a good striker. And there is so many players that move into the Premiership don't quite.
They always say the first. I rewatched this. We rewatched the Spurs documentary over the last few weeks, and there's that scene in it where when Ndombele has a chat with Levy, and to be fair to Levy, he says that lots of players take at least a season to adapt to the Premiership, but he's quite good in that because he says that's on the player. The player's got to figure out a way of adapting to life and working it out. And well, he still hasn't, has he?
No, not really.
Anyway.
I think he's had a better start. But then, moving on to the games, Burnley 0, Arsenal 1. Good result for Arsenal, much needed. Burnley still scratching around. Liverpool 3, Crystal Palace 0. Not quite. It was a bit of a strange game because Palace probably started the better of the two teams. Had a good 10-15 minute opening. Maybe it's a bit more clinical. They might have caused a few more problems, but it didn't quite happen. And at the end, Liverpool looked like they cruised it home, which wasn't probably a fair reflection of the game. But Naby Keita's volley right at the end. But the best thing about it is if you haven't seen it, you just need to look at his facial expression. It's just unbelievable. You know, like Eric Cantona did that famous.
Yeah. Was it Bramall Lane, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's something along those lines, and it just made me chuckle. Man City 0, Southampton 0. After Pep gives it the big and about crowds and stuff like that, they failed to produce, and there's a contentious point in the game where I'm not sure if Kyle Walker gives away a penalty or if Armstrong.
I've read it. I've not seen. I was on the golf course Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a strange one.
I've not seen any.
And then City also scored, which gets to sell out.
Yeah.
So finished 0-0.
Good point for Southampton. I think we said it before. There's a plan there.
Yeah. And
that's what I like to. There's clearly a plan there because over the last 2 or 3 years, and I'm not talking about the Manes and all that. Since he's been in charge, they've clearly sold some of the better players, perceived, and they kept with him when they got absolutely hammered by, was it 9-2, 9-1, whatever. They kept with him. He's signed players who are young. He's given the captaincy to Ward-Prowse, hasn't he? Obviously, a year or so ago. There's a plan there, and he seems to be getting backed by everybody, which is good to see. I think.
Yeah, really good. I didn't think Southampton would much because of the players they'd lost.
I thought they'd
doing really well. And the other one, which is a big one for Watford, nice little 3 points there, beating Norwich 3-1. Evening game, very disappointed for Everton fans. Getting hammered about that. Mortified that Rafa Benitez has messed up. But yeah, great 3 points for Villa. Then Sunday came along, big result for Brighton.
Huge.
Awesome result for Brighton. This game, the next one, West Ham 1, Manchester United 2, rolls me back to the European Championships. Yeah. And in sports science, we actually discussed this week.
Did you? You didn't do any standard deviation?
No, well,
you went back to what you know.
No. We from this, we could create a standard deviation. So we were talking about creating projects and making them reliable and stuff like that. So I said a good project that I'd like to find some information from, some data from, is how consistent are penalty takers if they've not played much match time.
Yeah.
So maybe basically taking a group of players, having a little bit of a warm up, not touching the football, and getting them to take a penalty, and how accurate are they and how consistent are they taking penalties. And then lads then go, the same group of 20 players, then go and play a game for 20 minutes, and then come back and retake penalties. Because it's evident in Sancho, Rashford, and now Mark Noble, come on his first touch of the game to take a penalty in the 91st minute.
I would say particularly noble over the other two for two or three reasons. One, more experienced player.
Yeah.
Two, a less pressurised game.
Yeah.
Three, he is the regular penalty taker.
Have you seen the penalty?
No, I haven't.
It's not even a good one.
No.
It is.
But that says what you're saying.
It's just not connected well with the ball. It's almost like a scuff. He's gone to go right corner, got too much inside of it, and then end up lifting it. And De Gea is literally almost like a metre from the centre, just lifting his arm up as he dives across. Because at first I think it's gone bottom corner. It's a great save, but then when you see it, if this is the centre line, it's probably. There we go. If this is the centre, the marking, it's probably this far off. Maybe a width of the screen. And he's just like, why? Why would you do that? You've got goal scorers on the pitch.
Yeah, you've got
players there that hit the ball well.
I'd love to speak to Southgate as well, going back to that, and just ask him does he regret, because he'll never regret it in the media at the minute.
No.
He might do as time moves on, but to think that, and I can't just remember it because we were probably had too many shamblers or whatever like that.
But yeah,
we must have penalty takers on the pitch before we must.
Yeah. I'd love to see like some data behind that, some standard deviation.
Well, there you go.
So I think I might do that as a mini experiment, see what the results are.
Very good.
So United scrape
and let's move on.
And then the last game of the day was Spurs 0, Chelsea 3. You know, it's Liverpool and Chelsea's games, match scores, are like for like from the first game.
Oh, there we go.
So imagine if you knew that back in the day, you'd go, right, whatever score Liverpool game is, Chelsea scored been exactly the same.
Good bet.
It would be. So
thankfully, I didn't see I was at the IPL.
Well, my disappointing thing was I was hoping you were going to do us a favour. But
I think by all accounts, first half we were okay with it.
It was quite level. Chelsea not really kicked in, and then it just seemed to be like Chelsea suddenly had 10, 15, 20 minute spell where they just stepped up a level, and then at 2-0 were cruising, and then stuck another one right at the end. Rudiger with a off the corner.
They do look the real deal, don't they? The strength in depth. Tuchel's not afraid to make changes.
I think it's a strong squad with a very good manager.
Yeah, they can change tactics within a game, which I think is always the most difficult thing to do, isn't it?
I tell you what, just a quick one before we look at this week's fixtures.
Cool.
Have you seen your old boy Poch? What's happened to him? He brought Messi off.
I brought Messi off, yeah.
Went to shake his hand.
Yeah, but they reckon now he's injured, don't they?
That's Messi's blanked him, hasn't he?
I've told you, Poch, do not be surprised that by Christmas or the New Year, Poch will be back at the top.
I'm sure you said this time last season.
I'm going to say every year.
Every year until it never happens.
It will happen.
Right, so this weekend is a tiny first game there.
I didn't realise that.
On Saturday, the 3:30 game, or the 12:30 game if you're in England, is Chelsea versus Man City. They were followed at De Pizzali. They've got
They're both
two
at the
games.
same time?
Yeah, Man City versus Aston Villa at the same time, which I've never ever heard of up until now.
Just literally now.
Yeah, up until this point. And then later on that day, the 3 o'clocks, Everton Norwich, Leeds West Ham,
A good game now.
Leicester Burnley,
Leicester need a win.
Watford Newcastle. I think out of them, I quite wouldn't mind watching that one because I think you've got two teams.
Newcastle got to get something on there.
Yeah, and then this might be an interesting
Big
one.
game, that, yeah.
Brentford Liverpool, the evening game, just simply because Brentford ground's quite closed in. The fans will probably try and play the part.
Yeah.
Brentford will
and
have
they'll be well up for it, won't they?
Brentford will have a go, especially being boiced after the Arsenal. I think this will give us a reference of how could Arsenal have Liverpool turn up and win 4-0. It could be one of them games. It could be a scrappy 1-0, 1-1 game, or Liverpool could just turn up and do a bit like they did at Norwich, is just slowly cruise to a 4-0 win.
Manage it and then go through.
Yeah, and then Sunday we've got Southampton Wolves, and then Arsenal Spurs. So it is a decent weekend. This is going to be a killer. If you lose this one, who's the better team?
Well, I think Spurs. I think Spurs are still the better side and have the better squad. I do honestly believe that because I think both clubs are rebuilding. But to me, he's picking the wrong sides. The only thing I would say about the Chelsea game, when I saw the side that he picked for the Chelsea game, that's the side he should have picked away at Crystal Palace when we were top of the league, hadn't lost a game, hadn't conceded a goal. They're bottom of the league. Go there with all those 5 attacking players. To me, he got his selections the wrong way around. So who knows what? having said that, he played the similar side last night against Wolves away, so I'm guessing he'll go. And I think I'd go and attack Arsenal because they're weak defensively, aren't they?
Yeah.
You know, I think the stroke's definitely sort of moving forward. So I don't know, but if you offer me a point now, I'll take you around, snap your hand off and go.
Ooh, interesting. And the last game of that day, which is actually on the Monday, is Palace versus Brighton, which again, I didn't think Palace played too badly against Liverpool, so that could be an interesting finish.
Isn't that the M3?
Yeah, they're actually quite a big derby.
It's a big
match,
derby.
yeah.
Remember, I've known it before. And then watching that Palace documentary, they call it something like I don't know what road, the A3 derby or something like that.
Something cheesy.
But it's a big game for both sets of fans, isn't it?
Right. So cricket this week, you've actually managed to get on the IPL game.
Yeah, went to watch. What did we go? What's the first game? Mumbai Indians versus Chennai Super Kings. Very good, unbelievably hot in that stadium. Just sat there sweating for 3 hours.
Nice. I bet the wife loved it.
Oh, yeah, she
did you break into it going, I've got a day and night tonight, love?
I just said to her last week, the IPL tickets are actually, are you going to get some? I went, yeah, probably. I'll come. I was like, oh. Get there 30 seconds in, I'm bored. I'm hot. Yeah, well, you're in the desert and it's cricket. What do you want me to do? But anyway,
you're going to be bored.
It was a good game in the end. Chennai won after being 5 for 3, and a batsman retired hurt and still won the game. But the most bizarre thing this week of the IPL was the game on Tuesday night, Rajasthan Royals versus Punjab Kings, with 6 balls left. Punjab need 4 runs to win with 8 wickets in hand. Lost.
Oh my goodness!
And the last 3 overs, they only scored 1 boundary, 1 6 in their 18th over, and then 1 ... wicket.
Rajasthan Royals won then.
Yeah.
Well, so this is the team that we're training at the same time as you.
Yeah, that's right, correct. But yeah, so I would love to have seen the betting patterns towards the end of that game. Let's put it that way.
Oh, so you're thinking dubious?
I'm interested in betting patterns and standard deviation.
Okay, it's got nothing to do with perspective. You need to teach you how to do maths. You know what I did? I worked out one of Bella's sums last night that the wife couldn't work out. She's an accountant. I'm telling you, I am taking over the world at some point.
Well, what, you could be the new Carol Vorderman?
Oh yeah, definitely.
1 from the top, 3 from the bottom, please, Carol.
Yeah, big one, small. Yes.
2 big ones.
We'll go for that one. Yes, right. Moving quickly on. Boxing. So we mentioned before Anthony Joshua versus Usyk.
Oh.
Big fight. Usyk stepping up in weight categories in order to take this fight on. Actually had a message from Kev Fields saying, I hope you guys are going to cover it in the podcast. I said, yeah, of course we will do. He thinks that Usyk could cause an upset like happened to Joshua last time. I want to say Fernandez, but it wasn't Fernandez.
I know what you mean.
New York. Hernandez, was it Hernandez?
Yeah.
New York.
I know exactly. Yeah.
That caused an upset. So Kev Fields seems to think that this similar could happen this time around. I don't. I think Joshua's just going to be too strong, too powerful, and if he catches him with a couple, it's game over.
I see he's slimmed down a bit, Joshua. He's as light as he's been because for that reason, I think. But I think he's better then because I think he's just as quick.
Yeah.
I think Josh, that one fight you're talking about, I think was just one of those freak things.
Yeah.
The rumour is he wasn't very well still, wasn't there?
But I just think that there's too much on the line for Joshua to potentially look past this and not pay full attention to it, because if he loses this one, then does that then put the Fury fight completely out the window?
I think the problem is that I think the Fury fight then becomes almost an exhibition fight in a year, 18 months' time, because there'll be nothing on the line.
Yeah.
Particularly if then Fury goes and loses something, I think he'll do it. Obviously, at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, so it'll be a hell of an atmosphere. Having been there to almost full house, and only a pre-season friendly, it will be a hell of an atmosphere.
So, what are you going with?
Joshua.
What round?
4.
Knockout. Okay, I'm going to go knockout 5th or 6th.
Anywhere between 1 and 12.
Yeah, I'll go knockout. Maybe it's points. Retired.
Maybe Joshua. Maybe Usyk.
Yeah, I think it's going to be one of the boxers. But I'm going to go. I want to say 6 because that's my favourite number, but I've got a feeling it won't get to 6. So I'm going to go 5th round knockout. Okay. Joshua.
There we go. Come on, AJ.
Yes,
because we all want that fight, don't we?
Of course we do.
We want the AJ Fury fight, and we want it for something, everything on the line, all in.
That's it.
We're going all in.
course we will. That would be ultimate.
Everyone wants that.
Right, so whilst we're sticking on to boxing, we're going to talk quick talking point. So in the recent head-to-head, Canelo that was just involved, he obviously fights in the upcoming days. Got a little bit fisticuffed.
Yeah.
So he came off with a head-to-head. I think Canelo gives him a bit of a push. The guy comes back, and then a couple of punches are thrown. I think Canelo dodges the punch that the lad threw at him, and then connects with a little bit of a jab on the way out. So he just got us talking off air about what's our viewpoint. My viewpoint is it's part and parcel of boxing. You can't get two aggressive people stand opposite each other and have the roadshow and rodeo that goes on with this to build it up and get to the point where you absolutely dislike the person ready to knock the head off and expect to stand toe to toe and not show forms of aggression. So I just think it's part of it, and it adds to it and it builds it up a little bit more. But Jack, you don't agree?
No, I just think that clearly it's all part of the show, because it is a show and all part of the build-up, and I'm all for that. I'm all for the head-to-head. I just think that when it goes over the top like that one, which I don't think it sets a very good example, because everybody talks about how, and even you'd have done the same when you've been teaching kids, particularly back in the UK, who probably aren't the best well behaved when they get into boxing. And Joshua's the perfect thing. It's all about discipline and changing your lifestyles, and if you go away from that, you lose your license. If you caught fighting in the street, something like that. So I just don't think it sets a very good example. I think it goes beyond the showpiece and the drama. But if they start getting fisticuffs or handbags or whatever, I don't think it's part of it at all. I think it oversteps the mark, and it's not a good look for the boxer.
So what would you do?
If it happened, probably, I don't know, you're never going to cancel the fight or suspend them, but I think maybe have some demerit points or something like that, so that there might well be a suspension from a fight further down the line. You can't box for 3 months or whatever it is. 6 months would be longer, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Okay.
Play the game fair.
Interesting. It's a hard one because it's such a...
And I know it's not like... I know sometimes it gets to better. We've all been there on a sports field of preparation.
It's just such a brutal and prehistoric
sport,
isn't it?
But leave it for the ring. That's what I say.
Okay, right. Well, we'll not wait too long on that, but it'll be interesting to see what other people's viewpoints are. I think it's part and parcel, and just accept it. There are going to be fisticuffs. Some of it is for sure. They never really actually throw.
Yeah, there is a bit of that. Yeah.
But yeah, we'll leave that there. But the interesting one, which is. Which actually refers to Sport Jibberish real life stories now, is there's a 6-year-old vice president, you may have seen this floating around social media at the moment, that's bought a club in, what do we call it? Suriname. His name is Ronnie Brunswick. He's the vice president of Suriname, and he's bought himself a club. Was it Royal Monte? Inter Monte Gay Po, something along those lines. So he bought himself a club, he made himself captain, makes himself
named the main stand after himself.
And actually played in a game the other day which is considered basically North American Caribbean's
Europa League.
No, I think it's like Champions League.
Was it? I thought it said Europa League on that thing.
Yeah, I think it's equivalent to that, the Champions League. But yeah, they lost 6-0 in that game. But don't worry, in the return leg he won't be allowed to play because Interpol are looking out for him as he's supposedly wanted for drug trafficking. So
the best thing about the story though is that he's a big old boy, isn't he? And
he's absolutely huge.
But then there's a quote from his son. He says something like, "Oh yeah, he's got about 50 or 60 kids."
Oh, no, he says that. He claims that he's got 50 kids. Yeah.
I thought it was.
The profile reads an elite paratrooper, a soccer player, a wanted bank robber, a guerrilla leader, a gold baron, and a father to at least 50 children in his lifetime. So
unbelievable.
The guy's a living legend. But don't worry, he will not be playing in the return leg. But we'll keep out. But there is actually.
Look at this one, the picture of him scratching his backside.
Yeah, and they reckon at the end of the game we wait until the team's dressing room started handing out $100 bills. Nice work if you can get it. But yeah, which then got us talking about people playing based upon who they know.
I mean, who would ever set up a club and be chairman and then play?
I don't know.
Who would ever do that?
I don't know. Call them wanderers. I have no idea, but it brought me back to, we actually played in a pre-season friendly against Bury, and I think we beat them 3-0 or 3-1 or something. It might even be 2-0. And our left wing were an absolute storm that day. And I remember talking to their left wing because I was playing right back. And we're having a chat, and we've just done, as the game's going on. And Andy Priest was manager at the time. And we're just having a bit of a chill as the game's going on. And I'm going, God, your right back's having an absolute mare. And he was like, yeah, he's absolutely shocking. I said, well, how's he in the team? It's like, it's the chairman's son. So the chairman's son, he said that it gets worse. He's given him a pro contract. He doesn't train with the youth or reserve team. He trains with the first team as part of the deal. And he was by far the worst player on the pitch.
Wow.
And I was sat there thinking at the time, going, I'm playing right back. I'm way better than this kid. I'm like, there might be a chance here. But then when I found out it's the chairman's son, it completely threw me. But have you ever come across anything bizarre like that?
Well,
apart from setting up your own club, Jack?
Well, I can't think of anything back home, but here there's a team called Middle East Metals, and they play in all the leagues. And I kid you not, there's some great players in it. Right, there's a guy called Ali Amari. He's as good at amateur semi-pro. I think he might even a version on a pro as I've seen. Really good player, good lad. But they are, I can't think what the guy's name is, but basically you've got this team who work for Middle East Metals, but they're all from sort of Pakistan, but they come and work for Middle East Metals and play cricket all around. He enters in every single league. Got this team of like proper players. They look proper like athletes, blah blah blah. And then there's just this grumpy, short, overweight, 50-year-old man who opens a bat and bowls but throws it. And I remember playing. I said, how does this work? How the heck does this work? You've got this good side, and they're genuinely a really good side and good people. You've got this guy who's miserable to sin, and he just opens a bat in. But they don't care because he obviously pays their work fees, and he's not necessarily the worst batsman you've ever come across, but it turns out that he is Mr. Middle East Metals.
Oh, is he?
So he owns a company, he brings them all over on work visas, they do a little bit of work, but they spend most of the time over here playing all the different competitions around Dubai, UAE, Abu Dhabi, but he plays in all of them as well.
Yeah, well, that's got some cash then just to do that, hasn't it?
Yeah. So he's my hero.
Yes, of course he is. But yeah, if you've got any crazy ones out there that you've played and you've turned up to a game and gone, how's this guy even on the same field as me? And it's obviously related.
Brilliant.
And it's not what you know, it's who you know at the end of the day. But yeah, give us a shout if you've got any strange stories like that. Moving on, fancy football.
Do we have to?
We have to do this, Jack, unfortunately. So if I go, just jump on Sporting Jibberish league table, and let's go to the bottom of the league, which is 102nd place. We have Henry Grant. I tell you what, he has not spoken to us on Twitter or on Instagram or on any type of format since he was due to take a picture of him in an Arsenal shirt.
No, Liverpool and Spurs.
Oh yeah, with the Liverpool and Spurs shirt. He's just gone AWOL.
It's all gone quiet.
And he's got even worse because he's absolutely...
I mean, he is terrible, isn't he?
205 points so far this season. John Frost is just above him in 101st place. And then 102nd place is John Luffman, who's moved up the rankings by one position by the looks of it.
Oh, yes.
And
to 99.
just above
Top 100.
John Luffman is Jack Luffman. But you've actually dropped according to this.
Yeah.
So, 99th place and not going well.
It's going pathetic. But I've got like 4 attacking players: Grealish, Son, Kane, and Lukaku. They did between them at the weekend. They did absolutely nothing.
No, just a bad weekend.
Absolutely nothing.
But Nuno's number 2 is currently top by 4 points to Cam. I'm still floating around the 12th, 13th position. 360 points.
You're hanging in there.
I'm 36 points behind. I think it was 34, so I've lost a couple of points this weekend on them. But doing okay, and I'm quite happy with the way my squad's looking. But this week's winner was Daniel McShane, scored 85 points, I think. So
good effort.
Well done, Daniel. So give us a shout, and we'll get the voucher over to yourself.
Daniel McShane. I always remember Ian McShane. Give me the actor. Have you ever watched Lovejoy? Did you ever watch it with Tinker?
No.
It was class. It was Ian McShane.
I think I know what you're on about. But yeah, if we have a quick look at the month view, Daniel's actually top of that with Dan Barron behind him. AJ from
All Stars.
All
Is he a
Stars.
Spurs fan? Because look at his team name. A son of ice and dire.
Possibly, unless it's just one of them cheesy things that I don't know if Dan Barron's local plan is. His teams haven't got a clue.
Bumble's up there, Robbie
Lallana's in pyjamas.
Woodall Spa.
So yeah, interesting as we come towards the end of the month to see if you can pick up the pints and maybe steal the voucher.
The voucher.
But yeah,
from the Void, it's now open.
Yes, so Void is off this weekend. Exciting. The Sporting Jibberish crew are fully back together. Myself, Jack, Larkin and Matthew Aldridge. So we're looking forward to spending some time together on Friday.
In the pool together.
In the pool, yeah. Matthew Aldridge wanted to play volleyball, even though the pool's currently 70 floors up in the hotel.
I told him to bring his snorkel and goggles, he can have a swim.
Yeah.
In the shallow end.
Looking forward to that. And obviously some pearls of wisdom from Larko will happen at poolside, I've no doubt.
Absolutely. We'll just...
But at the end of the day, Jack, what are we going to do?
Don't know.